Hello, you wonderful people. Today I have a very special video for you. This is a collaboration between many great YouTubers. Nasreen is the one who started it and she organized it all. So thank you for your effort and your work. I appreciate it a lot. And thank you for inviting me to paint with you. The theme of the collaboration is fairy tales and nightmares. And although I grew up with many fairy tales, and I occasionally have nightmares, what I'm painting today is probably the most emotional painting that I've ever painted, so I will explain to you what it's all about. As you can see, I sat down in the summer heat to paint a winter scene. And it's not because I miss snow so much and it's so hot outside. No. When I was young, and I mean really young, you have to know I grew up in Russia, and my grandparents had a wall tapestry in one of the guest rooms, and it showed a sleigh with three horses, and the horses were panicking and their eyes wide opened, they looked wild, and they ran for their lives. On the sleigh were two men, the one who was leading the horse, and the other one who had a gun and was pointing this gun at wolves that were following the sleigh. I hope that sleigh is how this is pronounced. It's like a carriage but without the wheels. Because, as you might know, in Siberia there is a lot of snow in the winter and, well, you can't get anywhere with wheels. So, yeah, I grew up there. And it was fun and I love snow. This horse carriage was running through a winter forest. To be inspired, so I was inspired by this tapestry that I had as a child, or my grandparents had as I was a child. The thing is that every time I went to bed in this guest room, my grandmother would sing to me, but my grandfather used to tell me fairy tales that he made up, and they all were around this image on the tapestry. The thing is, there were so many fairy tales that he came up with. It was a different one every single time. How the men got into the forest and how they encountered the wolves and how they fled and what happened after. And sometimes the men made it and sometimes they didn't, but it still was one of my favorite times to listen to my grandfather tell me these fairy tales. Sadly, my grandfather died around 10 years ago, and I'm still tearing up talking about him. I'm sorry. He was such a wonderful person. So, when I heard about the theme being fairy tales and nightmares, this is what I thought about. Because this is the most emotional memory I have of fairy tales, and it's combined with the memories of my grandfather. He was really a wonderful person. Whew. Sorry. Well, I warned you, this is emotional for me. So when I made research how to paint horses and carriages or sleighs and a winter scene, I googled for some images and also images of the so-called troika. That is the Russian carriage with 3 horses that you all might know, this picture. And I've seen so many of them, and in different styles, and it's obviously have been a very famous and beloved theme to paint, especially in Siberia, or about Siberia, not only from the Siberian artists. But when I looked up the photos of actual sleighs in Siberia, they all had only one single horse in front of them, and the horses weren't like this slender, big horses, but some little and chubby ones, and I liked those a lot, so I decided to paint one of those. This is how this image came together. To paint this, I used the Hahnemühle Britannia watercolor paper and some the White Nights watercolor paints, because I thought when I go Russian with the materials also. At least as far as I could. I don't have Russian watercolor paper or something, but the paints are great and I like to use them a lot. So I sat down to paint it. First I made a sketch and covered the parts that I want to keep white with masking fluid, and then added soft washes of indigo, ultramarine and burnt umber mixes over the sky and snow to make these snowy colors. At least this is my favorite combination for painting snow. I used burnt umber, raw umber and burnt sienna for the bushes and trees in the background to make them stand out. Because Siberian winter and Siberian forests are very thick and you don't want to get lost there, because you will never find a way out of there. Luckily, I never did get lost there. But there are a lot of stories of me being in the Russian woods. Like, once I encountered a snake. That was a funny one. Maybe I will tell about it later in one of the future videos. So, when I did my research for this image, I actually found a blog of an artist. I think it's an UK artist. The name is picturesoflilyblog.com, and she had a post where she went to a bar in Kraków, Poland, and you won't believe me, they have the same tapestry that my grandparents had in their apartment hanging in this bar. I found this image and I went crazy, because I would love to have this tapestry. My grandmother doesn't have it anymore, and I wouldn't know where to get this, but I will link it down below so you can take a look at what my fairy tales were all about, what my grandfather had for inspiration to tell me his stories, because it's mind-blowing. Also, You have to know that I lived in Kraków for several months during the last years, and I have never been to this bar. I actually don't really know where this bar is, but I wish I did. But honestly, if I went there and saw this tapestry hanging there, I would go nuts. I think this is the only thing I would really been tempted, that I have really would have been tempted to steal. I think this is how grammar works. So, instead of this tapestry, I will have the painting of the Siberian winter wars hanging here. But isn't it crazy? Have you ever encountered something like that? I don't know. This made me go nuts to find this image of this tapestry. But other than the link to this blog that I found during my research, I will of course link every member of this collaboration down below in the description box, and be kind and visit them, because they are all great artists. Some of them are very young and just starting out with art, and I think we all are still learning. At least I do. And I want to thank all of them for joining in this collaboration. Thanks again, Nasreen, for all your work that you did with this collaboration, because Nasreen made several videos, wrote several emails, coordinated everything, and gave us all the information we needed to make this a success. The following YouTubers take part in this collaboration. Hartfell. She comes from Austria and makes art videos and reviews, and is such a very nice and kind person. I honestly like her. Dark Warrior, Art for Fun, Essa Art. Luna Sky is from Swiss and very, very kind. You should visit her. And of course everyone else. Katie Meyer Art, Ellie, Nessa Draws, Confused Ginger, Geneviève Robillard. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce this right, but the name is beautiful. And of course Nasreen from the UK. I hope it's right that you're from the UK. At least that is what I memorized. I myself am very curious what everyone came up with, and I will spend my day with watching all of these collab videos, because I'm very curious what Fairytales and Nightmares YouTubers are influenced with. And if you want, and if you are curious too, just hop over to those YouTube channels and take a look for yourself. And if you like, you can leave me a comment of what was your favorite fairy tale that influenced you or influences you still. This is something I really want to know. Thank you for being with me in this very emotional video for me, and thank you for staying through my crying here. I appreciate you all a lot. Thank you again, and see you soon. Bye.